Hey everybody, thanks for joining us at Wyvern Kodiak. You got Chris and Sam in the room. Certainly want to invite you to like and subscribe before we get started talking about this Grimsmo Rask. And man, that isn't any Grimsmo Rask. This is my Grimsmo Rask. This is one that's been one that I've been waiting for quite some time. I've admired this for a long time, but man, it's hard to pull the trigger and write the check for a knife that it's comes in at this price point. I certainly was very happy to be selected for their buyer's choice. I wanted something that was full DLC, and I was able to get my hands on it. So, talk a little bit about that process and the reason that the Rask was one that I was truly after. Before we get started with the story, let's do a little bit of size comparisons. First, we'll compare it to a PM3 as well as a PM2. And you can see it's really close to PM2 size. But, one of the things that I really like is just how thin this is. I mean, completely different animals, when you look at that, and then also, the real estate they take up in a pocket, completely different. So the PM2 and PM3 were ones that I tried to carry for work for quite some time. And in my job, I'm usually wearing suit pants or dress slacks. So I wanted something that was a little bit lighter and also something that wasn't so intimidating looking. I joke around that if I'm slicing an apple in the company cafeteria, I don't want Edna or Agnes in accounting to go have to run out of in fear. So the Rask is one that I think fits the bill, and I decided to go with a completely DLC finish because I wanted something that would hide scratches and absorb a little bit of wear, because typically in my pocket where I carry my knife, I often have a multi-tool as well as my keys that have a titanium flashlight on it. So, those things bounce around and bang into one another. One of the things that I did when looking for this knife was compare it to a couple of other desk carries that I have. And I absolutely love both the tactile Rockwall, but also the TRM Neutron. This one to me is super slicey, fun to use. I absolutely love it. But again, it almost looks intimidating to non-knife people. Tactile works just great, and also a full tuck like the Grimsmo. The Grimsmo, however, is one that was near and dear to my heart, and I wanted to purchase because I just love all the engineering behind it. I'm an engineer by trade. I know, listening to John Grimsmo talk, he says that he's not a knife maker, he's a machinist that happens to make knives, and you can absolutely see all of his influence in the machining here. The the milling on this is spectacular. Probably over 50% depth wise is milled out. And there's all kinds of Easter eggs on the inside when you take it apart. You see their logo inside on the scales. Underneath won't be able to pick it up on the camera, but underneath the pocket clip also has some information. They just mill everywhere. And looking at the top, you see it's the Rask, the 3848, which is a serial number. So this is the 3,848th one that was made, and RWL 34 blade steel, which I happen to like. I know a lot of people knock it when they talk about a knife this expensive coming in at, these are, I think, all over $1,000 now. We're right at, but the blade steel itself is very, very balanced. And so I do like that. Their heat treat is superb, and they do a cryogenic finish on it. When we look at the blade itself, it's 3.5 inches long. It's got an overall length of 8.1 inches, and the weight comes in at 3.1 ounces. One of the things they do a little bit different than about anybody else is all of their hardware is a T9. They do send you a T9 Torx driver as a part of the bag, or excuse me, as a part of their kit. The unboxing is really, really nice too. I mean, they do put together a really nice package, coming in with a solid case and foam insert that's got everything that's laser cut out, so it fits snugly and perfectly. This is on ceramic cage ball bearings. It does have absolutely phenomenal action, and I've tightened this down a little bit because I like that small magnetic drop at the end. I didn't want something to drop super fast. My Norseman, it drops super quick. Like I play a game of can I keep my fingers today whenever I use my Norseman. But on the Rask, I went ahead and I tightened it down just a little bit, so there isn't much drop, but also that keeps me from fidgeting at work. The detent doesn't have a ball. It has a ceramic disc or maybe nub that sits in there, so you do have more surface area, which I think does allow it to open and close a little bit more solid. This knife is everything that I was looking for a work knife, and I think that the fit and finish is absolutely phenomenal. Our final thoughts, I want to ask you, Sam, a little bit about what you think on the fit and finish. I know that we have a bit of difference of opinion here.
Well, fit and finish, I don't think we have a difference of opinion. I think you and I are both in agreement that John and his team do a remarkable job fit and finish wise. Tolerances are spectacular. Action on it is incredible. Every little detail, with the exception of the ceramic balls, I believe, are created by them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so with the exception of that, they make everything else in-house. Every screw, every pivot, everything is done by them. What's not to love and respect about that? I think where we differ is just I'm a person that likes multiple modes of actuation on a knife, different ways to deploy. And my least favorite is a rear flipper tab.
Yeah.
And you having a knife that has one single mode of actuation and it happens to be a flipper tab means really that I'm kind of left to be less interested in that. But again, I don't think it is a bad. I don't think it's a bad knife.
Yeah, I know one of the things that you talked about here is in the blade itself, and so I would like to wrap up the overhead and let's go. Let's get together for some final thoughts. So, Sam, the Grimsmo Rask, give some final thoughts here. This is a knife that was special to me because I just learned so much watching the Grimsmos over the years. Their transparency in their shop. I would love to be a knife maker. Full transparency here. I didn't finish metallurgy class. I've never made. I didn't go to CNC school, and I've never forged anything.
You're further along than me, though.
Yeah, so I think that I admire the people that get out and that they do it. I love the design piece. I love the aesthetics of this. Is this a knife is it valuable? I think so. Do you buy this nice knife because you think it's got a great value? Probably not. This one was just under $1,300, DLC'd all the way through. I think $1,280 is what it was, I think. So
it's pricey.
Yeah, it's very pricey. So I could buy, a dozen knives for a dozen decent knives for what I paid for this. That said, I don't want to carry a dozen knives. I want to carry this one. And I particularly like it. And again, I think that for me, if it wasn't for the transparency, for the Grimsmos just really focusing in and putting a lot of effort into improving the design of every single knife, I probably wouldn't pay that much for it. But watching their struggles over the years, seeing the quality of their shop, over the years, you see the tools that they have just to increase and improve, and they I can see that, and I certainly appreciate that because I have no idea how the sausage is made, for a lot of the knife makers.
And that's fair. I think meeting John and his team was a real pleasure when we were in Atlanta. My heart goes out to them that their inventory didn't make it. I hated that they were put in that position because truthfully, there were a lot of people that were trying to get over to that booth to check them out. They were, they were every bit as popular as the Oz machines and stuff like that, and they had nothing to show for it. They were fortunate enough that one of their customers, who happened to be a very big customer of theirs, brought some and said you can sell these on your table, so at least you have something to show. So that was really, really awesome of them. That being said, going back to the knife itself though, I know this is a knife for you. And like I said on the overhead, for me, one mode of actuation, and my least favorite of them.
But it's a doozy.
Look, spot on. I give all the credit where credit's due. This knife's action is stellar.
Yes.
Okay. The fit and finish on this knife is second to none. Mm-hmm. I think you going with a full DLC, and their DLC isn't like other DLCs. I give them credit there too. It's gray. It almost looks borderline stonewash, which is awesome. I think that's a great look. The fact that, with the exception of itty bitty little ceramic balls, this entire thing was made in-house by them, is stellar, and
with tolerances that are
scary good,
impeccable.
So I don't have anything bad to say about the knife, okay, because my personal preference doesn't make the knife not good. It functions fantastically. It is finished beautifully, and it makes my buddy very happy. So how can I be mad at that? On a side note, you had mentioned the RWL34 steel. People complain about it, but Hog House and Blau Rock and
A lot of customs.
Yeah, a lot of these custom shops are using that steel. Okay.
And why is that? It's
because it hardens up with proper heat treatment spectacularly. And if I'm not mistaken, RWL34 is 154 cm-ish?
CPM 154, yes.
Okay, it's CPM 154-ish, right? So it is...
It's essentially the same formula, but made by Damasteel instead of Crucible.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, this is what I told you. I don't go to metallurgy school, so he's further along in that than I am. Okay, I draw knives. He actually has to do the R&D for the company. So, but all in all, again, this thing it's beautiful. It's special. It is engineered in a way that you can tell this was not a overnight thing that was put together and here's scales, here's a blade. It was thought out, tweaked, turned, twisted, manipulated, and run through for years before this is what came out of it.
Very interesting backstory on that, Sam, is that John and his brother wanted to make something that was easier to make than the Norseman, and they drew this up. I think he said while sitting at a wedding, they were like, got an idea for a knife, and they drew it up, and so then they went back to manufacture it, and it took a couple of years to get it down and get it right, and then they made several of them, and then they took like a 5-year hiatus because they're like, we can't manufacture this easily or rapidly, It was expensive, and they worked on it, and then back in again. 5 years later, they went back at it, and I feel that they've perfected it. You know, you also brought up Oz Machine, and I think that there's something there that's neat as well. Is I think that I've got a Rosie XL, and I think that the action are similar on them both. I prefer the Rosie's action slightly, and I think that's just because it probably just feels a little bit larger to me. Feels more substantial on the lockup. But I think that one of the big differences is if you want a Rosie, you've got to enter a lottery and hope that you get picked in order to purchase whatever's being made at that time.
Or get to Blade Show early.
Yeah, or get to Blade Show early. That's what I did. Yeah. And so with what Grimsmo does, you get on the list, you are presented with all of the, once they select you for the Buyer's Choice Club, you're on the list. You pop in there. They give you 24 hours to pick what you want. Maybe it's longer than that. Then they build it, and then when it's finished, they send you a link, and they give you like 30 days to pay for it. And then if you don't buy it, no big deal. You just go back into the pool again. If you do buy it, then then they ship it to you. So my experience was really good with them. The only challenge that I had is, my clip popped off fairly early. And so I took some pictures of it, sent it to the Grimsmo team. John responded back, right away. Liked my pictures. Said, what you got there is right. And more than likely, it wasn't torqued down, all the way to go through. But I put a little bit of Loctite, torqued it down, and I haven't had a problem with it. But I also haven't tested it over large pants at this point. So who's this knife for? I think for somebody who just wants a great knife that is I would say a little exclusive, at the price point, there's some exclusivity to it. I think it was $100 everybody'd buy one. Watch Sam's face. Somebody that wants something that isn't going to scratch up, that, I love their DLC. It works out fantastic.
I hate him sometimes.
So I would certainly recommend this, and, I'll change that if after using it for a while, I don't like it, but the little bit I have used it, it's been fantastic. Yeah.
And I think there's absolutely some fidgetability to it. I think from a sound perspective, I think it has a great sound. It's not obnoxiously loud, but if you like a thwack on the out and a click on the in, a nice sound to it. It's certainly very nice. If you're a person like you who needs a non-intimidating, thin profile,
what do you mean by you people?
We can't even be serious for a couple minutes together. My wife, she worries every time we hang out. He's a bad influence on me.
That's it.
That's it. But honestly, if you are a person like Chris that wants something that is thin, low profile, lighter weight, that has
works in large hands.
Yeah, works in large hands. That's true, right? Both of us have big old paws on us. This is a good knife for you. I think this is a knife that you can carry in the office, that you can put in suit pants. You can't really put these big ham hock machine blades in your pocket. Obviously, it's a ton of weight, but besides that, the bulk of it, and then if you pull that out at the office, like you said, Edna in accounting, she's going to fall over at her desk because she's going to think you're doing something bad. So, it's a great knife, man. Yeah. All in all, my final decision on it is if you've got the money and that knife is for you, meaning that is the type of thing you like, it's a buy. If you're a person like me, where one mode of actuation and maybe not a rear flipper kind of guy is not for you, then that's not one money well spent, because it's just not something you're going to really enjoy to the fullest extent.
Yeah. So on that note, let us know what you think about the Rask, or, is it ridiculous to spend that much money for a pocket knife? Is it in line with what you believe as well? Well, let us know. Give us some comments on your thoughts there.
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you soon.